Right now, on to the point.
As soon as the gun went off, we both hit the floor.
In a crowd of college students, a political assassination.
Everyone got down. Everyone was so scared.
Conservative activist Charlie Kirk shot and killed at 31 years old. President Trump making the announcement on social media tonight as lawmakers respond to a heightened political climate.
I'm urging all Californians, all Americans, whether you're left or right, demand better.
Where the investigation stands and what happens next. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Alex Bell is on assignment. We continue to follow breaking news in the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. At this hour, we can report a person of interest is no longer in custody after the 31-year-old conservative activist was shot and killed during an event on the campus of Utah Valley University. Kirk was shot in the neck about 20 minutes after he began speaking. The crowd quickly dispersed and people ran to safety. Witnesses say they heard only one gunshot. As both the ATF and FBI are investigating, the governor of Utah spoke just a couple of hours ago, promising to find the person responsible, and said this.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Kirk is a massive voice in the conservative movement. Kirk started the youth activist organization Turning Point USA. He was a close ally to Trump and many members of Trump's administration. He was also a husband and father to 2 young children. President Trump announced the news that Charlie Kirk died. He posted it on Truth Social. The president calls Kirk great, even legendary, and said no one had the heart of the youth movement better than Charlie. Trump has ordered all U.S. flags to be flown at half-staff until Sunday evening. The president also postponed a dinner he had planned for this evening. Earlier this year, Governor Newsom had Charlie Kirk on his podcast, where the two discussed hot-button issues. Today, Newsom put out a statement saying the attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible, and that we must reject political violence in every form. The governor rescheduled his celebrity-packed event on redistricting originally set for this evening. Well, local voices are adding their perspective tonight, including some who knew Kirk. ABC 10's Garjpal Sangha joins us live from the state capitol. And Garjpal, people are calling for change.
Yeah, and Becca, more statements and tributes are pouring out of the state capitol. A lot of people denouncing this shooting, many just shocked over what has happened. And over the past 30 minutes, people have been showing up here to the state capitol. Right now, what's happening here is this is a prayer vigil that's going to be held here for the next hour and a half, praying for Kirk and his family and hoping politicians lower the temperatures in this country. Now, Kirk is no stranger to California, especially Northern California. You can see the video that's about to play here. He spoke during the 2023 event at UC Davis, and Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA and the UC Davis chapter, held multiple events that were met with protest and that at times turned violent. And this evening, tributes are coming in from faith leaders, political figures, and those who knew Kirk personally.
Can't believe it. I'm numb. This was a close personal friend. And because he spoke up and he was unashamed and he stood for truth, evil doesn't like that. And evil pushed back today. And it's a horrendous event.
America lost a true patriot today. And I know not everybody's going to see him that way. But I think those who understood the work that he was doing and the impact that it was having, I know that many will.
It's appalling that because of the inflammatory political rhetoric of some media outlets and politicians in this country, that mentally ill people get spun up and they do evil acts like this.
Is conservatives don't want to go into it for good reason, and liberals just continue to.
And across the board, the leaders describe Kirk as bold, outspoken, and unafraid to step into hostile arenas. They say his influence on young people's families and political discourse will leave a lasting mark. And back out here live at the state capitol, as again this prayer vigil started at 6. It's going to go until 8 p.m. People just sharing scripture, sharing their stories, just talking about how much Charlie Kirk has meant to them. But the reaction here at the state capitol mirrors what we are seeing across the nation: grief, outrage, and asking political lawmakers to lower the temperature in this country. Reporting live from the state capitol, Garjpal Sangha, ABC 10.
Garjpal, thank you so much. Well, we want to show you some new video tonight over Turning Point USA's headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. The organization has more than 850 campus chapters and sends conservative speakers to colleges as well as hosts conferences. Tonight, this area has been blocked off. At least one person was seen praying outside the building today. The U.S. House held a moment of silence and prayer today, but the bipartisan moment disappeared almost instantly. Colorado Representative Republican Lauren Boebert called out for a moment of spoken prayer. Democrats quickly yelled back at her, pointing to a school shooting that happened in Colorado also today, and urged her to support gun control legislation. Take a listen. In Evergreen, Colorado tonight, at least 4 students are hurt after another student at the school used a revolver handgun to shoot them. 3 students are in critical condition. I want to bring in political analyst Steve Swat now. Steve, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Steve, what's your reaction to Charlie Kirk's shooting today, and what does this say about the state of politics in America?
Well, certainly political violence is abhorrent, and this is just the latest example of how our coarsened political discourse has been morphed into political violence. And it's just an awful thing to see. And I think a lot of it is because so many people are angry these days, and they're getting a lot of their angry from social media, for example. And it's just something that has increased in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, right? And see if
well, and people, I mean, and folks, for example, instead of posting a screed on, Instagram or whatever, some people are going out there and getting guns and knives and killing people.
Yeah, scary to see. And I know you're a student of history, looking back on political violence in America. Are you drawing any parallels between today's shooting and past shootings?
Well, it certainly isn't anything new. I mean, we have had 4 presidents who were assassinated. And in 1968, that was an awful year when Martin Luther King was assassinated and Bobby Kennedy. But it seems to be spiking now in recent years. And I alluded to social media, and one of the problems is that Meta, for example, and X, very popular social media sites, I mean, they are dropping down their efforts in terms of content moderation. So it's the Wild West out there sometimes, and that leads to some bad behavior.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, too, of President Trump's attempted assassination last year. That really obviously galvanized his base around him and really kind of unified the country for a moment there.
It's happening on both sides.
Indeed,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I'm remembering, too, in Minnesota, the 2 state legislators who were shot earlier. Of course, we're seeing politicians on both sides of the aisle condemning today's act, rightfully so. But moving forward, what's the long-term impact of today's shooting?
Well, it just continues a very bad trend, that's for sure. And if you want to be scared, I go back to a poll that the University of Chicago took and released during the 2024 election. And what it reported was that 7% of Americans said violence is justified if it is done to help President Trump win election. And about 10% said it was justified to stop him from winning. So that's 17% who are justifying political violence, 17% of our population. That's 58 million. So there are a lot of people out there that seem bent on doing bad things.
Yeah, and we heard from Garjpal tonight talking with people outside of the Capitol that people are calling for political leaders to bring the temperature down. Is that what we need?
Well, that would help, certainly, but I'm not convinced that if all the legislators and all the politicians start singing Kumbaya together, that it will necessarily get rid of all our political violence, because you have other factors at work. I mean, it's some elements of the media, again, social media for sure, and that's fueling a lot of this.
Indeed, a complex solution to a complex problem. Steve Swat, political analyst, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Well, our coverage does not end here. For more on Charlie Kirk's death and the investigation, we streamed today's news conferences and more on who Charlie Kirk was over on the ABC 10 Plus app. The app is free to download to your TV. Well, next on To The Point, could law enforcement be forced to remove their masks? The conversation's happening right now at the state capitol. Plus, who can get a COVID booster shot and where and why? It could depend on who you ask.
Temperatures still in the low to mid 80s. Tomorrow, some fewer clouds, though we're going to start to see more sunshine. We're also going to start to see a warming trend headed through the weekend and into next week. Forecast after the break.
Let's turn now to meteorologist Brendan Minchef with our weather. Brendan, we've been enjoying a nice cool spell here.
Yeah, definitely a little early taste of fall, all thanks to this system moving through far northern California. It's brought showers and thunderstorms to parts of the state that not necessarily where we are at home, right? Sacramento hasn't really seen anything, certainly nothing in the San Joaquin Valley. We have seen some showers and thunderstorms in the coastal range up near Shasta and the upper valley, a little bit in the Sierra as well. But for the most part, the valley has stayed very dry. Starting to see some activity winding down in the coastal range, places near Clear Lake and Ukiah. Still definitely some thunderstorms up in the upper Sacramento Valley near Chico. But again, in the capital region, we are just staying dry. Only some clouds through this afternoon and evening. We were once again in the very low 80s across the valley this afternoon, so we're already in the 70s. 76 right now in Sacramento, 78 in Stockton, 79 in Modesto, 71 in Jackson, 56 in South Lake Tahoe, and 54 in Truckee. Some clouds continuing through the overnight, although we'll start to see those clouds dissipating as we head through Thursday. Starting off Thursday morning in those upper 50s, very seasonal for the time of year, 30s in the high country. Thursday afternoon, fewer clouds, although we will have a few clouds at times. In general, it'll be less than what we've had the last couple of days. Still in the low to mid 80s, though. 81 Sacramento, about 81 Stockton, 83 in Manteca, 82 Modesto, 84 in Colusa, 60s in the high country with a chance of thunderstorms as well, and we'll see that here on Futurecast. So activity kind of winds down through the overnight, but then tomorrow we're going to have another chance for showers and thunderstorms across the Sierra Crest and in the coastal range. It's not likely that we'll see anything in the valley. We're starting to move into this pattern where the activity is going to be up in elevation, not so much in the lower elevation. So just something to keep in mind for the rest of this week. But in terms of temperature, we are entering a warming trend. One more day with highs in the low 80s in the valley. Then we're in the mid to upper 80s through the weekend, and it's going to get even warmer next week. This system starts to lift out over the next few days as high pressure is going to build in. And you see this high pressure out over the west as well. That will start to move in as we head into next week. So a couple of passing systems through the weekend, not really going to bring us anything except maybe a few clouds. But temperatures over the next 10 days are definitely going to be warming up. We go from the low 80s to the upper 90s by next week, Becca.
Back to the 90s. All right. Brenda, thank you so much. Well, still ahead, major reforms could be coming for how the state cares for sexually violent predators known to communities as SVPs. Plus, some advice tonight on COVID boosters as confusion grows over who can get the shots.
Doctors are confused. Pharmacists are confused. The companies that run pharmacies are confused.
Welcome back. It's crunch time at the state capitol as lawmakers debate hundreds of bills in the final days of the legislative session. Tonight, one bill continuing to cause controversy could ban most law enforcement from wearing masks which obscure their identity. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us in studio with a closer look. Jeannie.
Becca, there are only 2 days left in the legislative session. This bill, SB 627, is now headed to the Senate after passing the Assembly yesterday. The bill's author, Senator Scott Wiener, tells me this is to address the ongoing ICE raids happening in the state. But a law enforcement representative says this will only end up negatively impacting law enforcement.
ICE agents, bounty hunters, and who knows who else are running around basically wearing ski masks, grabbing people from their front yards, from bus stops, from their workplaces, and throwing them into unmarked vehicles and taking them we don't even know where. This is terrifying.
It's because of this, Senator Scott Wiener authored SB 627.
SB 627 will ban this kind of extreme masking with reasonable exemptions for medical masking, SWAT teams, certain kinds of undercover operations.
If passed, this would apply to all federal and local law enforcement except the California Highway Patrol.
It does not apply to state law enforcement, which is a tiny percentage of law enforcement. And I don't see any scenario where a governor of California allows CHP or other state agencies to do this.
The Peace Officers Research Association of California, or PORAC, opposed this bill, saying local law enforcement officials are being punished for the actions on the federal level.
Unfortunately, the federal officers, they have a job, they have a specialty, and this is what they do. Immigration's their ballywick. Local law enforcement is to protect the communities, but we're now being pushed in the middle of this, which we didn't want to happen.
Adding this will cause more liability for officers while on the job.
Officers that are wearing masks on good faith are going to lose their qualified immunity. And unfortunately, we're a very litigious society, and any opportunity to sue a police officer or police department or local agency, it happens, and it happens quite frequently. And unfortunately, the officers now are going to be on the hook potentially.
Senator Weiner says officers would be liable in that case only if they intentionally violate the law while wearing a mask.
And the bill says if an officer is found in violation, it could result in an infraction or misdemeanor. SB 627 will head to the Senate Public Safety Committee tomorrow and then to the Senate floor, where Senator Weiner says will hopefully pass and head to the governor's office desk to sign into law. Becca.
Ginny, thank you. Tonight, a bill that could bring major reforms to California's Sexually Violent Predator, or SVP, program is headed to the governor's desk. Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones authored Senate Bill 380, which directs the Department of State Hospitals to look at placing SVPs in state-run transitional housing facilities rather than being on conditional release in communities. The legislation follows an audit Jones requested last year that found oversight failures with the Department of State Hospitals' current program, and that's contracted out to Liberty Healthcare. In a statement, Senator Jones says, in part, the department needs to step up and take responsibility to fix this broken system, not continue to dump sexually violent predators into our neighborhoods. The governor and I don't always see eye to eye, but I don't see how any parent could not support this bill to keep California children safe in their communities. Jones' bill will become law if Governor Newsom signs it. The chair of the State Senate Transportation Committee says an agreement has been made for California to give the high-speed rail project $1 billion a year for the next 20 years. This comes as the federal government recently announced it is pulling its funding for the rail as it's over budget and behind schedule. The High-Speed Rail Authority's CEO released a statement saying, in part, this funding agreement resolves all identified funding gaps for the early operating segment in the Central Valley and opens the door for meaningful public-private engagement with the program, saying they must also work towards securing the long-term funding. And tonight, according to Bloomberg, state lawmakers are negotiating to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Valero Energy Corporation so they will keep their Benicia oil refinery open. The proposed bailout of $80 to $200 million would help pay for maintenance costs at the plant that was built in 1968. Some economic experts say if the plant is closed, gas prices could rise to $8 a gallon. Valero and state lawmakers involved have not released any statements on the matter. As COVID cases surge here in California, the quest to get a vaccine is not only becoming confusing and chaotic, but in some cases extremely difficult due to shifting guidelines. Some insurance companies cover the vaccines, and some, like Kaiser, are still reviewing their protocol. Some pharmacists are giving the COVID vaccines, no questions asked. Some are refusing to do so without a doctor's note or even a prescription. Dr. Schwartzberg, an expert in infectious disease and vaccinology at UC Berkeley's School of Public Health, says if someone under 65 wants to get a vaccine right now, it can turn into quite an ordeal.
If you want to get protected for whatever reason, and a pharmacist turns you down, go somewhere else. You'll likely find a pharmacist who will do that. I think the alliance that California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii have put together is going to be very helpful in terms of getting rid of a lot of this confusion and also some leverage with the insurance companies, making sure the insurance companies pay for it.
Dr. Schwartzberg recommends people look at the FDA's broad list of vaccine qualifying categories. It now includes things like feeling depressed or being overweight. Department of Public Health says additional guidance on vaccine availability is forthcoming. We're back after this. Continuing to cover the political assassination of Charlie Kirk tonight. The conservative activist was shot and killed during a college event in Utah. Tonight, no suspect name has been announced. President Trump just released a video from the Oval Office saying, "My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity," saying Charlie shared his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense on campuses nationwide. He championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. We will have the latest tonight at 11 o'clock. Well, we thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. We know this has been a heavy day filled with a lot of difficult news, so we appreciate you sticking with us. If you have something you think we should be looking into, reach out to me and the team. And I want to remind you, on Thursdays, we have a segment called Champions of Hope, where we do feature good things happening in the community. We'd love to hear if you have any ideas for us on that. You can email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Have a great and safe night, and be kind to one another.